All right, let's get on to some of the news. So
Yes.
let's start with the federal budget. So a weighty document. You and I both know, stepping back, that there are many asks or many asks of the federal purse. I was part of actually Retail Council's formulation about what the retail industry wanted. So all these people come together and they hold meetings where everyone who advocates for whoever comes together and says, I want, from healthcare to roads to food to, everybody says, here's what I'd like to see in the budget. I think you actually read the whole budget, which is, a feat of
I
strength.
needed a few gurus.
Yeah, I guess. In general, what was your impression of again, from our food industry perspective, what was your perception of the budget?
I don't know. Did you look at the budget at a high level or?
At a high level, I looked at the
Yeah.
budget. Yeah.
Did you find a section for agri-food and food security or agriculture
I
or?
did not. I did
Well, you
not.
couldn't because
Maybe I
it's
missed
not
it in the small
there.
print or something. Maybe it was on page 292 or something, but no.
I think the Trudeau government is consistent with itself, focusing on the environment, and of course, it's absolutely critical to become better environmental stewards. Um, but this year is different. I mean, there's lots going on with COVID and now this
War in the
awful
Ukraine.
invasion
Awful.
of Ukraine. I mean, the devastation. But of course, we're likely. I hate to say this, but we're likely to see more people dying in Northeast Africa
Mm,
due to hunger than people dying because of the conflict itself. So,
mm,
the implications are grand, and all eyes are on North America. So, I was actually expecting something pretty significant from a food security perspective, looking at how we can help farmers with their cash flow. I was actually just chatting with some MPs this week about this, how we can help our soil science to increase yields, how we can actually improve our logistics, all of these things. And yes, there were provisions for infrastructure, 1.9 billion over 5 years. But as you know, Michael, 1.9 billion over 5 years is to build roads and ports and everything you need
goes pretty
is
quick.
yeah, exactly. So and there's no vision. And I've always seen Canada, in light of trade deals we just signed with Europe, Asia, and North America, we could actually, with a really comprehensive logistical network vision, we can do very well north, east, west, south. I mean, we can do a lot of great things. But infrastructure has always been an issue. I mean, the CP Rail situation was another kind of an embarrassing situation. The lockout and everything
Hmm.
just put everything in idle and preventing businesses to do business. And
Yeah.
Canada's reputation is not great. So I was expecting a lot from the budget. Essentially, the budget did a lot for housing. Well, whether you agree with it or not, I think they should have done the same with agri-food,
Mm.
given the situation the world is in right now. Yeah.
As I mentioned before, I was part of a committee with ideas for Retail Council of Canada. So Retail Council of Canada represents all retail, and
Yeah.
on the other side, Michael Graydon represents food manufacturers, and at least it speaks with a unified voice. Here's the 5 things that, as a retail industry, largest private sector industry, need. So it actually goes to the government and said, here's our asks. Whether we get them or not is a whole different thing. Is there,
Yeah.
I was part of that. So I had a very specific ask about Canada Post, for example. I said, listen, if you want to help small business succeed, you need a viable, vibrant Canada Post to help deliver packages.
Yeah.
That was. But is part of the problem that there is no single entity? There's dozens of entities, all picking different places to ask for things from the government. Like, who would go and ask that, what you just asked? Who would go and advocate for
Oh,
that? Who would go and make
well,
space for that? Who's the association or the group of people that would say this is what we need for Canada?
there, I would say there's Quebec and everyone else. Because in Quebec, you have the very highly powerful UPA, which is the union representing farmers, and they have a lot of power. And so processors and retailers have to work with the UPA. So often the UPA is that voice, but they only represent farmers. But
Right.
you're absolutely right. I mean, from a lobbying perspective, Canada is highly fragmented. There's no very powerful voice. The Canadian Federation of Agriculture has tried to position itself as a powerful voice, but unsuccessfully, to be honest. And frankly, it's unfortunate because just name a commodity, wheat, beef, whatever. You have dozens of groups representing
Right.
a
Provincial,
commodity.
federal, like
Oh yeah,
there's got to be hundreds of them when I start adding up, right?
exactly.
It feels like there's, and again back to the RCC, or I'm sure Michael Graydon on the food side. There's a unified voice that at least the members of Parliament can get their heads around a specific act.
But
Doesn't
RCC works absolutely. RCC is quite influential because of that. Absolutely, yeah,
yeah.
and it's
I mean, it
simple for
doesn't.
MPs.
Yeah, it doesn't excuse our government leaders from the issue, but at least it kind of helps raise its profile. But maybe that's missing. I don't know how to fix that. But
But it's been a problem for a very long
mm,
time, and
mm,
that's why I think we need to make sure that that groups work together. Again, I was actually with a group in Manitoba. Proteins, big issue right now in ag. So this protein war between animal and vegetable. What do we do? How do we position ourselves? And I would say that Manitoba is a really strong case study. It has been able to unify everyone around a protein strategy. And the
mm,
reason why they were able to do that is that they have few groups representing different commodities. So it was much easier. But when you go in other provinces, even Saskatchewan next door with 1 million people, it's hard to unify people
yeah,
around a common cause. Alberta's the same. Ontario is very fragmented as well. So it's a huge problem for sure. And when it comes to ask, now right now you have a very urban focused federal government in Ottawa, so they will look at agriculture through very urban lens, which is understandable. And frankly, there's nothing wrong in making agriculture or agri-food greener. I think it's important, but I didn't see anything in the budget that would actually make the agri sector more efficient. And
mm.
that is exactly what we need right now.
Yeah. My last thoughts on this was it's kind of like a one trick pony. I get the environmental piece so important, but there's so many other pieces. So it's a one note song, so to speak. And there's we need a better strategy, and I think the world is counting to some degree on Canada to help what is going to be inevitably, as you say, unfortunately, the
Oh,
broader consequences.
absolutely. So you can look at the food to fuel debate. What is going on with
Ethanol, yeah.
ethanol this year? I mean, Biden this week just decided to tap on ethanol to actually decrease fuel prices. But guess what's going to happen to commodity prices? They're going to go up. Farmers aren't going to complain, but we're going to have a food security problem. That so there's a lot of these discussions aren't happening in Canada, unfortunately, and I think we need to talk about global food security. The Barton report 4 years ago, I think it was 4 or 5 years ago, was just bang on. For the first time, we saw a very authoritative report showcasing agri-food. We should export more. Canada can become a powerhouse around the world, but we always we fall short. And with the budget, it's with the budget that you can actually empower the agri sector
Yes.
to do better.
Yeah. It was an important budget too, because the beginning of the Trudeau's got a pretty secure place, and thanks to their alliance or whatever they've
That's
got going
right.
on with the NDP, they're pretty secure. So that it was an interesting budget
But hey,
for us
for
to kind of look at.
retailers, we're going to save on credit cards. Did you see that?
A little bit, yeah. I mean,
It wasn't really advertised, but it was in there. So I think RCC got a win there.
yeah. I mean, it's probably the biggest file that RCC works on because it has such
Oh yeah, it's a big
important
deal. So it
impact.
was mentioned, no specifics of course, but it's actually in there somewhere. And so I think RCC was successful in getting the government to look into this matter, which is for retailers it's pretty important.
Well, and even more so because of online, right? So there's so
Yeah.
much cash is declining, and listen, when you're doing online transactions, as Guru does, it's all credit card, man. Well, there's not. I should say that there's actually two alternative payments. You've got Interac, which more and more you can use online, and then all these buy now, pay later folks don't use credit cards. That's a
That's
whole
right.
other discussion.